My friends, what I'm about to reveal now is a picture of the system's collapse they tried to hide from you. Try to imagine what's going through Lula's mind at this very moment. His global chessboard is melting in real time. Think about the scenario. Nicolas Maduro is virtually trapped in his own labyrinth. Cuba is surrounded by wire on life support and about to collapse for good. Vladimir Putin finds himself isolated and bogged down in Eastern Europe, and the right is advancing and sweeping the elections across Latin America. And what about China, you ask? Yes, my friends. Xi Jinping has proven to be that fair-weather friend, the ally of convenience you can't trust when things get tough. But the real catastrophe that keeps Brasilia up at night is in the Middle East. The Ayatollahs of Iran, yes, the great friends and strategic partners of Lula's government, are in deep trouble. Have you noticed the deafening silence in the air? Before Maduro fell into absolute disgrace, Lula shouted to the four winds, defended him, and ranted into the microphone. Now faced with the annihilation of the Iranian regime, he's keeping a low profile. He's staying quiet. In fact, he hasn't released a single statement condemning the mass killings that the Iranian regime has committed against innocent civilians among its own people in recent weeks. My friends, Lula has never felt so much fear in his life. The most dangerous dictators in the world, who by a big coincidence were all close friends of Brasilia, are falling like dominoes. This world is getting too small for tyrants. And if you thought international pressure was already at its limit, look at what Donald Trump just did to Iran. The mainstream media tried to sell the narrative that Trump chickened out, that he was running from confrontation by pausing operations. So, my friends, in your opinion, was Trump backing down to Iran? There's only one answer. We've reached the critical moment. It's not the beginning of the moment. It's not the preparation. It's the breaking point. For 50 long days, President Trump sat at the negotiating table playing four-dimensional chess with the fractured, shattered, and desperate Iranian regime. That was trying in every possible way to buy time. And the response that Trump has just sent is so clear and so devastating in its implications that it brought Iran's high command to its knees. And what a coincidence! On their knees right at the opening of the World Cup, begging for a last-minute deal. But the American response was already cold. Too late. They have no idea of the hell that Donald Trump is about to unleash. And for you to understand the military genius and the geopolitics of what's happening now, I need you to keep one thing in mind. Pay attention, because you're going to teach this to people who don't understand anything about geopolitics. Iran today suffers from what we call the broken mirror syndrome. Did you write that down? The broken mirror syndrome. Let me translate the impact of this into the real world. In the last 48 hours, the United States Armed Forces have launched massive nighttime attacks against targets linked to Iran. Shortly after an American Apache helicopter was shot down near the Strait of Hormuz, approximately 20 military complexes were wiped out. Iran tried to retaliate by firing kamikaze drones and ballistic missiles at American facilities in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. But those attacks were weak and disorganized. And then you ask me, but what's happening in Iran? Look, my friends, the regime operates under what the military calls the Mosaic Doctrine. It's a decentralized defense strategy that allows the Islamic Revolutionary Guard to split into 31 independent regiments. Their logic was simple. If the main leadership in Tehran was eliminated, the provincial commanders would have the authority to act on their own. But this is where American tactical genius and the broken mirror syndrome come into play. And pay attention to this, because this could be applied against the regime in Brazil. Let's go. But first, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Leave a like on the video, because it takes work to make it. When Trump decapitated the Central Communications Network, he shattered the mirror. Each of those 31 regiments became a shard of blind glass, bleeding and trying to act on its own. It's the perfect Achilles heel. It's mathematically impossible for them to act in a unified, coordinated, and consistent way because their command, control, and communication capability was destroyed. There is no longer a single government making decisions in Iran. The regime has shattered into factions fighting each other in the dark. And if the global system is shattered and chaos is spreading, you need to make sure that your focus and your personal structure remain unshakable. While weak leaders fall apart with the collapse, the strong man prepares himself. And preparation starts with your daily foundation, with your equipment. Do you realize what Trump has done in these 50 days of supposed ceasefire? Yeah, my friends, those who are here with me can read the map before the herd. I've already said this. He wasn't negotiating with an entire nation. He was negotiating with the shards of the mirror. He started playing these factions against each other, making simultaneous offers of money. First, power, security, just watching who would betray whom. 50 days at the table with terrorist leaders who had spent decades perfecting the art of stringing the West along. Gaining time to enrich uranium, develop weapons, fund proxy groups, and ensure their own survival. But the truth that the media hides is that out of this whole crisis, we only had 2 weeks of real war. In exactly 14 days, Iran was neutralized. The other weeks of American military attacks were just cleanup missions, sweeping away the remaining debris to ensure that Iran could never again project military power. But what about the economy, you ask me? Well, my friends, Iran tried to block the Strait of Hormuz. And what did the United States do? Well, they blocked the Iranian blockade. And that didn't just cripple Iran. Pay attention to this, because I've said it before. It drained the Chinese Communist Party's coffers, my friends. It broke the Sao Paulo Forum, my friends. It broke the Latin American cartels, my friends. Nobody talks about that. But China had been buying 80 to 90% of all the sanctioned oil from Iran at an absurd discount. The American blockade wiped out that flow. And this is costing Iran $500 million a day. And the most frightening detail, the stagnant oil is frozen. It's turning into a thick sludge inside the pipelines, literally destroying and rendering Iran's oil fields useless from the inside. Their economic heart is having a heart attack. And now comes the great humiliation. Trump revealed a military secret that made the Iranian high command freak out. The president himself declared, "The war is over. You didn't know that. Iran didn't know. But we're taking millions of barrels of oil from there." And then you ask me, but how, Shimon Oliveira? Well, American ships and submarines are quietly escorting oil shipments. Just last night, 22 gigantic oil tankers passed through the Strait of Hormuz in total darkness with no lights on. But why didn't Iran see this happening? Because in Trump's own words, we blew the crap out of their radars, he said. They're blind in their own backyard. And about this operation to destroy those Iranian radars, I covered it in the video that's coming up next. So don't go anywhere. Well, Iran and its factions don't have any more tricks up their sleeves. Zero leverage. Trump's strategy with this 50-day pause was brilliant. He tried to preserve the country's infrastructure for the Iranian people, who hate the Revolutionary Guard, while demanding the total and unconditional surrender of the regime's factions. Trump's 5 demands are the death warrant for terror. Pay attention. 1. End of the missile arsenal. 2. Total inability to create nuclear weapons. 3. Immediate handover of all enriched uranium. 4. Absolute end of subsidies to proxy groups Hamas, Hezbollah, and Holtz. And 5. The Strait of Hormuz open under American surveillance. Trump tested the factions to see if they would keep the Strait of Hormuz open under surveillance. The Strait under American surveillance. Strait under American surveillance. 11. The clock hit 0. Look at the level of humiliation that just happened. President Trump confessed today to an intelligence source. While Trump was sitting in the White House Situation Room, top-ranking Iranian officials called him literally begging, "Please stop bombing us." And Trump's response? Pay attention. The bombing will stop soon. But when asked what he would do if they didn't sign the agreement in good faith, the president replied curtly, "We'll bomb the soul out of them tomorrow night." And just so you know, Trump canceled the bombing that was supposed to happen today on the date of this video, June 11, 2026. Coincidence or not, the opening of the World Cup happened earlier in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, and this agreement now seems to be moving forward. "Look, we're going to bomb the soul out of them tomorrow night," he said. Well, Operation Epic Fury wasn't designed to play around, it was designed to prevent the atomic bomb from falling into the hands of the Ayatollahs. And for those who think this is a bluff, history shows how the American system breaks regimes. Historically, Bill Clinton bombed Serbia for 72 uninterrupted days. The dictator Milosevic did not give in an inch until the Americans destroyed all the bridges over the Danube River and cut off the power in Belgrade. When the lights went out, the dictator fell. The parallel is clear, my friends. The Americans are not just going to blow up little radars in the desert, they are going to escalate the destruction, totally. And look, this is also happening in Cuba. Yes, if you thought Cuba, you got it right. And Lula, look, Lula is here watching, trembling with fear, asking the Brazilian military if they are able to save him, to protect him, to prevent an American invasion. No, they can't. The answer was cold and blunt. They are going to annihilate Kark Island, the critical terminal through which Iran unloads its oil. They are going to create a sanitary corridor in Hormuz, hit highways that give access to underground nuclear facilities, destroy the bridges, and give the green light for Israel to pulverize the command centers. The vital difference here is that the population of Serbia still supported Milosevic, but the Iranian people have utter disgust for the Ayatollahs. That's true. The damage to the regime is irreversible. By some firm estimates, Iran lost $500 billion, $500 billion in industrial, nuclear, and military investments accumulated over 50 years. It all evaporated, my friends. Their accounts were frozen. The assets abroad were confiscated. The Navy is at the bottom of the sea. The Air Force no longer exists. And an astonishing 90% of their entire missile arsenal was degraded in the first week of the conflict. Their generals are being hunted down and taken out in surgical strikes within their own capital. More than 5,000 targets have already been destroyed since the United States Operation Epic Fury began, and Operation Lion's Roar was guided by Israel. The next phase, if they don't surrender in the next few hours, and pay attention to this, is the final squeeze. The destruction of the cargo terminals, the seizure of the Gulf Islands, and the collapse of the national power grid. The domestic economy is imploding brutally. The lines to buy gasoline in Iran are up to 6 kilometers long in some areas. Food is running out. And 80 million hungry and oppressed Iranians are like a pressure cooker, milliseconds away from exploding against the dictatorship. Every day the Revolutionary Guard hesitates is one day closer to a mass uprising that will hang the Ayatollahs in public squares. Iran made a suicidal bet. They bet that 50 days of negotiations would wear Trump out. They bet that the American people, tired of war, would force Congress to block the attacks. They bet that the oil market would panic and force Washington to accept a bad deal. They lost all their bets. The old Middle East bully thought he could wear Donald Trump down, but just found out that negotiations without consequences are nothing but empty talk. And ultimatums without military force are just suggestions, and this is where we draw our line in the sand. All this relentless analysis, this dissection of the end of dictatorship in the Middle East and the silent panic in Brazil is what we've done here. That's why I want to call on all of you, the elite who see the world without the lying filter of traditional media. Go down to the comments of this video right now and type our verdict for today, our reality password. Write it exactly like this: Global Checkmate. Show the system that we fully understand who is dominating the board and who is bleeding to death. And if you want to be at the forefront of this information war, if you refuse the sanitized and bureaucratic narrative of the open networks, I have a non-negotiable invitation for you. Join our exclusive platform now, our censor-proof environment, the Bunker da Inteligência. Yes, my friends, we are already a strike force of more than 3,000 analysts who finance and shield the truth in there. We pore over maps, leaked reports, and what really drives global politics. And without censorship. Without the power of a signature over there being able to silence our speech here. So point your phone at the QR code on your screen or click the link in the video description and in the first pinned comment. Access to the raw truth is just a click away. So come join this community that keeps growing in Brazil. I'll be waiting for you there. Now, besides that, for those who are already part of our ranks and live and breathe our community, we've prepared something completely new to expand our reach. We've kicked things off and just launched our newest YouTube channel in a strong partnership with my brilliant friend Davi Almaskani from the Viva Israel channel. Together, we've created the largest community of elite analysts on this platform, a monumental project called Breaking Point. Yeah, we're gonna shake up the system. That's why I'm calling on you to subscribe to the channel right now. We have a mission to reach 100,000 subscribers in 30 days, and we'll only do that with your support. And there's more. For those of you who are tired of wasting your precious weekends scrolling through streaming catalogs full of ideology, woke culture, and whining, I'm going to leave you now with our series and movies channel full of spot-on recommendations. Just click and follow. So, I did it. Don't waste any more time. The link is in the description, in the first pinned comment, and in the card that pops up, our series and movies channel. It's clean content for you to really enjoy with your family without wasting time. Now, the best part of this chat. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and like the video so you don't miss anything. My friends, Iran is about to learn that now the West has courageous leadership. Shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.